Her name is Rabi. But what about multiple units of the same figure? What would be the plural name be? Rabies, right? Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven today with a scale figure review, and here we go again. Low budget 1x4 scale figure from a Chinese brand. And I am reviewing this figure today because of you, right? A few of you have requested for me to review this very specific figure over here. Seems like a lot of people buy it, but you weren't sure whether it is a good purchase or not. But I am going to go ahead and tell you that if you see a Chinese 1x4 that costs like 12,000 yen, then you don't really have to think much about it. If you like the character, go and purchase one. I would reckon that a figure like this, a lot of people will be pretty interested in having because it is big and cheap, right? So we are looking at Maxcute. Yes, this Chinese brand has been around for some time, for a few years by now. Though back then they were focusing on original characters and premium figures, but when I say premium, it is more like 15 to 20,000 yen range, not too expensive. And their premium original character figures, they tend to bargain bin a lot for reasons I'm not too sure because I did not explore those figures to begin with. And now they are dipping their toes into the low budget segment. I don't think they have ever made any 1x4 scales before, and this is their very first. And it is pretty interesting that they went for something low budget rather than more premium ones, which I think makes a lot of sense because they are competing with other Chinese brands that are doing the same, like Animaster, Bear Panda, right? So this is an original character by the name of Rabi, R-A-B-I. Maxcute 1x4 scale original character Rabi, 12,000 yen. Released back in June 2025, so about 6 months ago. And while I have been keeping an eye on her, she wasn't a priority to me, but thanks to you guys requesting for reviews, here I am, I purchased one, and in case I don't want her anymore, I can always sell it. The one thing I find really interesting about the name of this character over here, getting to the height of this figure, including the base, all the way to the top of her cat ear over here at least. This is my choice, 43 centimeters. If you were to remove her cat ears, which are removable, and replace it with bunny ears over here, add another 2 centimeters or so, 45 centimeters. If we were to look at the actual height, not including the base, from the bottom of the feet all the way to the top of her head over here, not including any ears or the ahoge, that would be exactly 40 centimeters. So accurate 1x4 scale. And this is what the box looks like. So black color box all around. I suppose this is where they cut cost. No big illustrations to be printed on the box, which means, yeah, lower production cost. But this is a high quality box, very thick materials. So nice work from Maxcute. And we do have a shiny Maxcute sticker over here for authenticity reasons. Bear Panda, their figures have a similar box, though Bear Panda boxes tend to open from the side. This one opens from the top, the traditional way. And at the back over here, 1x4 scale, PVC, ABS. Yeah. So this box is a solid 9 out of 10 considering the price point of the figure. It will get full points, 10 out of 10, if the box is nicer. But so regarding the contents of the box, to unbox it, it is very simple. You just plug the figure into the base, but you do have some extra stuff over here. The cat ears are separate, you need to plug them in, or you can go for bunny ears as you can see over here. And naturally, I went for cat ears because number one, I love cat girls, and number two, there are too many bunny girl figures out there, even more so at 1x4 scale. So cat girl is the way to go. But I love having this option. It is like it does not involve a big amount of money to give us this option over here, so that is nice. And you do have a second faceplate over here, that is right, the 3D eye tracking faceplate again. This is nice to have, and in this specific figure over here, the 3D eye tracking faceplate is a really good one. So not all 3D eye face pieces are equal. With some 3D eye face plates, the quality is really good. The plastic in front of the iris of the eye is very clear, and there are also those that are slightly cheaper ones where the eyes appear a bit foggy. So yeah, the eyes are not as clear, not as well defined. They don't look great. In this case over here, it looks very nice. So this is a good option over here, but I tend to prefer the traditional faceplate. I'm such a boring guy, I know. So that is what I went for with the display of this figure over here. Now moving on to the sculpt department of this figure. This is not a bunny girl for once, and she appears to be very poor. As you can see, she is not wearing any bra or pantsuit, going full commando. Her shirt barely covers her opai, meanwhile her shorts are quite torn, so she has to be pretty poor, I suppose. However, if there's one thing about the sculpt department that is kind of surprising, it is the shots over here, the tone effect, and it feels like looking at real jeans in a way. The cloth, the fabric, the materials look like those real jeans. There is some texture, the kind that you see mostly in third-party resin figures. So this is a nice effect to have on such a low-budget figure, and I don't think her tone shots over here, it is like the main highlight of this figure rather than her opai. At least that is what I feel. So it is like just the right amount of fan service, just the right amount of skin being shown without being overly lewd. Putting aside her shots, everywhere else, her shirt, her skin, her hair, the detail levels are average or below average. So this is where they are able to keep the cost down very low, because in the end, the paintwork on this figure is fairly plain, right? No ultra intricate details to paint, just a plain white shirt, mostly blue color shorts and skin color and the hair. Yeah. So if you analyze the figure a lot closer, you can kind of understand why she is so cheap, but it is done the right way. And then there is the face, which I think looks amazing. For figures like these, original characters, sometimes you see the artwork, it is like, wow, I like it a lot. Beautiful art. And then sometimes the figure company, they mess up the face, it looks slightly different from the original artwork, so the feel is not there anymore. Fortunately, in this case, I think the face is very accurate, similar to what was being promised in the official product pictures. So her face is an easy 9 or even 9.5 out of 10, no complaints from me at all. Meanwhile, my score for the sculpt of the rest of this figure, I would give it a maximum 7.5 out of 10, not any higher. The plus point, the positive parts is the shots over here with the texture on it. The negative part is mold lines are visible near her armpit on both sides. Not on the white shirt over here, around this region. On both sides, you'll see a bit of mold line. It is quite obvious actually, especially if you are experienced in collecting anime figures, you will see them immediately. So this is not nice. Even though I can understand that it is a low-budget figure, but if I were to compare her to the other 1x4 scale low-budget figures that I have reviewed recently and also last year, I don't recall seeing any mold lines like this on those figures. So that is where I deducted some points from this figure. As for any other quality control related issues in the sculpt department, no ugly gaps or seam lines, no glue leaking out from separate parts that were glued together. So the only issue is the mold line over there as far as I can find. Meanwhile, on the paintwork, like I mentioned earlier, it is a low detail figure actually, though we can see some mild shading on her hair. The brown beige color hair over here, there are multiple shades of brown color going on and in a very gradual manner, so the hair is painted very nicely, including the ears over here. Meanwhile, her shirt, there is a heavy dose of shading. It is not plain white color. On the chest region, you can see there is a bit of pink or skin color, as if the shirt is slightly translucent. That is the look they are going after over here. Not the best I've seen, but at least I can appreciate the shading going on. And along the sleeves and everywhere else, the folds, they have some bluish gray color going on. And of course, the shots over here has heavy shading as well. Meanwhile, for the skin region, fortunately, they are not abusing too much pink paint. Yes, so with many other Chinese low-budget figures that I've seen, whenever there is a joint around the elbow and knee regions, the hands and the fingers, they tend to do some shading with pink color, but they overdo it. In this case, the pink color is very gradual, very minor, not too much of it. So at least she does not look like she's wearing something very tight and uncomfortable to the extent it is squeezing her skin until they turn pink or red, right? Surface finish is decent, smooth enough for the skin and the hair. Meanwhile, the shirt tends to feel a little bit cheaper, like not as smooth to the touch when you run your fingers across it. maybe they are using a matte coating. I don't think there are no coatings at all, right? But it does feel a bit cheaper than usual. As for quality control issues, I did find a couple of paint transfer on the side of the figure. Both arms on the side over here, you can see some white color paint blotches on it. So this is something that you will only notice if you look at the side of the figure and you look a bit closer. If you are looking at the figure from the front or from a further distance, you won't see it. And that is the only flaw I can find on the paintwork of this copy of my figure over here. Other Rabi figures out there or other Rabi's figures out there, they could be better or they could be slightly worse, who knows, right? Quality control is about inconsistency after all, but this is what my copy is like. The score I can give for the paint of this figure is also 7.5 out of 10. I was thinking of giving it a bit lower, but yeah, it has heavy shading, right? I need to give it credit whenever it is due. Moving on to the last part of today's review, the base, which is the least impressive part, I can only give it a maximum of 6 out of 10. I could have given it lower, but considering the stability of this figure is really good, you see when I shake the figure, it does wobble a bit, but not too bad because both feet are plugged into the base with metal foot pegs. So that is more than good enough. In fact, I think this figure would survive an earthquake better than some premium figures. So there is no cause for concern over here, just that the base could have been a bit nicer, I suppose, but the silver lining is that it is not the matte finish, the very rough type. It is not gloss either, so not exactly the easiest thing to accidentally scratch in the world, but you still have to be careful. This is definitely the most underwhelming base, so I can only give it a 6 out of 10. So arriving at the conclusion of today's figure review, can I recommend this figure of Rabi's? The answer is yes, right? So if you have been eyeing her for a while, by all means go and get one, because for a figure like this, all I'm looking for is an accurate face. They did not screw up the face and no major quality control issues, which in this case, the problems I found, the mold line around the armpit region on the shirt and a few small paint blotches, they are fairly minor. Yeah, and that could be my copy only for the case of the paint work, but the mold lines are going to be there in every copy of the figure because they came from the same mold, obviously. So with that in mind, beautiful face and extra optional parts at 12,000 yen. So I'm not sure what Maxcute is doing nowadays. It is a bit weird because this company was pretty active like 2 years ago, announcing a bunch of original character figures, and recently they have slowed down a lot. I'm not hearing much from them in terms of new product announcement. And up until last year, suddenly we saw them come up with a low budget 1x4 scale, and since then I haven't heard much from them even. So I'm not sure what is going on with this brand. Yeah. Are they going for a rebrand? Like there is a new company coming that we don't know, could be Maxcute, but they renamed themselves. That could be a possibility, but they have been pretty quiet lately. But that does not discount the fact that this is a very good figure. So until then, I hope that you found this review to be helpful and informative. If it is, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content every week. And until then, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.